Let's say you're watching this video because you are one of those super focused people that wants to squeeze every drop of juice from life, and you really want to make it count. But you might be in your 20s or your 30s, your 40s, and you're not really sure what to do in your life, and you're feeling a little bit aimless and a little bit lost. You're ambitious, but you don't know what you should be being ambitious about, so to speak. Well, in this video, I want to share what my personal opinion is for what you should focus on the most in your 20s. What's up, you guys? Alex Hine here. So before we jump in, first link below this video is for a free goal setting worksheet. If you want to have the best year ever of your life, that'll help you figure out how to engineer not only the vision for what you want, but also the daily rituals that will make that happen. So you can check it out right below this video. So I want to start this off by saying that 30 is definitely not the new 20. If you've heard that from somebody, it's usually probably your hippie stoner friend that's been pissing away their life, and they're saying that to make themselves feel better because they're 29. But let's be real. An example I can think of is love and work. I have a lot of my female friends who now in their early 30s are starting to feel and act panicked because in their 20s, they were kind of dating aimlessly and dating whatever struck their fancy and just having fun, thinking that, when I get to 30, then I'll get serious and it's all going to work out. But then suddenly they got to 30 and they were emulating those same patterns because that is what they've been practicing by dating kind of carelessly and not deliberately. And now suddenly when they're feeling that they want to have a family and have kids, they're realizing, wow, maybe my lack of introspection, so to speak, is now getting the same guys that were fine in 20 or 25, but now at 33 and 35 are maybe not what I want. Now, maybe for you, this is showing up in your work life where you're the creative and you're working a lot of these odd jobs just to pay your rent. And you're kind of, if we're being real, dabbling about your creative acumen or your creative portfolio. And you're not really playing to win as a creative. You have the coffee shop job per every cliche. You come home, every now and then you're making music or you're writing or you're painting or you're drawing, but you're not really playing to win. Like someone who is really dead set on making this their career and being successful at it. So now suddenly 30 rolls around and you're thinking, I thought I'd be farther by now. You're almost having like this quarter life going into midlife crisis because you thought you'd be farther and the dream didn't line up the way that you thought. And I think this is the most destructive aspect of this thinking that 30 is the new 20. All it does is make us piss away a decade that can be the formative years of our life. So my main piece of advice when it comes to work is do not take the best job. Because you see a lot of people when they get out of school, they try to get the best job, however they define that, whether it's status or money or connections, and they really under-optimize for growth and acquiring concrete skills. So let's say, you come from an immigrant family and to be successful, you need to have the highest paying job financially out of college. So you decide you're going to be a finance and an economics. And then you graduate school, you're making $70K at Bank of America as a bank manager, and then 10 years later, you're still there and you're making $110K, but now you hate the work because it's boring and there's no growth. There's nothing wrong with that. But in my opinion, life is really long. To max out your career at 32, when you have at least another 3 decades, each decade you could become the best in the world at one field or one craft. Consider that. You could reinvent yourself probably 8 times and be the best in the world at each career with how long the modern human lifespan is. And so if you're playing that game where you're optimizing for the short term and you're not optimizing for growth, what happens is that in the short term you win. In the 3-year, 5-year window, you win. But in the 10-year window, it looks like you're losing because now you have a hard time getting out of bed every day. So in my opinion, optimize for skills and growth. Now let's talk about what that is. This one idea that I love comes from the creator of the Dilbert comics. And in one of his books, he talks about this concept that is his mantra or belief about what produces success. And he says, every skill you acquire doubles your chances or your odds of success. Now, he gives the example of being someone who's a mediocre comic, a mediocre artist, drawing his comics, and a mediocre business person. But when you put all 3 together, he leveraged those into the Dilbert comics, which made him a multimillionaire and pretty world-renowned. And he says that it's so powerful because there are plenty of people who are good enough violinists. There are plenty of people who are good enough musicians. But you know why Lindsey Sterling, the electric violinist on YouTube, has blown up? It's because she's fused two unique skills that don't often go together. Violin, traditional violin, with electronic music or electronica and EDM. And so it produces this thing that most people have never seen before. Sounds incredibly repulsive, I'm sure, to traditional musicians, but she's done amazing at it. She's created a new niche, and she's very, very good at what she does. And as a result, she has these sold out shows, and she's become a brand of her own. So if she was just the violinist, the skilled violinist, she'd be, she'd be dime a dozen within her field. But by adding another layer that creates a new niche. And so this is the way I think about life growth as skills growth. If you optimize your 20s towards developing concrete skills, and let me explain what that is. A concrete skill is if I sit in front of you, you can draw my face and it looks pretty damn accurate, right? That's a concrete skill. If you're a programmer, I can say, I want a website to look like this. You can program it and create out of the ether a website that looks the way I want it to look. That's a concrete skill. Or if you're an athlete, to run the 100 meters in a certain time, that's a concrete skill. It's really skills and not knowledge that produce, value in the marketplace. And I see so many people optimizing for either money or connections, but really in the long term, if you optimize for skill growth, that will guaranteed make you more and more valuable. Now, one final anecdote here that comes from Steve Jobs, where he said that, life can only be understood looking in reverse. Maybe that was Kierkegaard, but what Steve Jobs said was something along the same lines, where the pieces only connect looking back. And what that means is that he gave the story, maybe it was in his autobiography, of he just took classes that interested him in college. And one of them was calligraphy, and one of his interests was meditation, and I believe he even went to India. And he said that, when you do these things, they don't look like they connect to the big picture of your life. But you can only know that when you look back through your life later, because the pieces end up connecting. And one example he gave was studying calligraphy just for fun, ended up becoming all these incredible typesets and fonts on the Mac, which I believe at the time was the first computer of its kind that had alternate fonts. So you never really know where these skills come back into play and will blow up your career or your life in a separate way. But if you end up chasing skills, these become true assets over time, much more than chasing money or success. Now, when it comes to skills, I am so die-hard about acquiring skills that can improve how good I am at what I do and will fuse all these varying skill sets I have into a very unique career. So the reason I'm so die-hard about having skills that are concrete is because in my own life, the fusion of skills has made all the difference as well. These YouTube videos talking about self-growth. Now, Skillshare is one of the companies I've partnered with. I've used them many, many times for their online courses, and they've put together an awesome deal for a certain number of Modern Health Monk viewers. You can check it out right below this video. Check out all of the online learning communities and programs that Skillshare has, with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics like illustration, design, photography, video, freelancing, and more. So take, for example, this course called DIY Filming that I went through. It really helped me, number one, figure out how to really storyboard my video in a much more strategic way versus just being a teacher, as well as how to properly prep a short but sweet kind of highlight reel, as well as edit it, put it together, and really polish it to be a much, much better presented piece of content. So Skillshare has classes to fit your schedule and your skill level. Members get unlimited access to thousands of these different kinds of classes with hands-on projects and feedback from a community of millions of people. Now, the classes are usually under an hour and they have short lessons to help you fit any schedule. But I would definitely go ahead and check out some of the topics that you might like. Like, for example, there are courses on journaling and design. There are courses on the fundamentals of DIY photography or even cinematography and low-budget filmmaking. You can even learn how to make your creative side gig your full-time job. And for a lot of these online ways to learn, you can have access to all of these in an unlimited amount. So before you guys go, make sure you check out that special bonus. Check out that link below this video for Skillshare, that special deal. And I will catch you guys in the next video over here.